Forever you are strong. Forever you are with us. Forever and ever. Forever. Amen. Please be seated.
A well is a hole in the ground, sometimes dug, sometimes drilled, and people create wells because they want to go down deep and find something of value that they can use for their benefit. And sometimes they want that, and sometimes they really need what's down in that well. When you dig a well, it's not a sure thing, usually. It's kind of a risky venture. You don't know what's going to be down there. It's hidden. It's a hidden value. But there's still wells all over the place, and people still go after them. We're going to have a story about a couple wells today, and I'm kind of excited about reading the story of Jesus when he met a woman at the well. So we're going to talk about that well and the hidden value down there and what the risk that she was faced with, in a way. I'm going to read 22 verses of John chapter 4. It's starting in verse 4, and I'm just going to read it to you. And I want you to, while I'm reading, I want you to listen for a couple things. I want you to listen that if Jesus judged this woman's past actions, and I want you to listen if Jesus approved her past actions. And then I want you to listen for one more thing. What is living water? Here we go. Now, Jesus had to go to Samaria, and he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar, near the plot of ground that Jacob had given his son Joseph. And Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, he sat down by that well, and it was about the 6th hour. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said to her, "Will you give me a drink?" Because his disciples had gone into town to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "You are a Jew. How is it that you talk to me, a Samaritan woman?" And Jesus answered, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is who asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." "Sir," the woman said, "you have nothing to draw with, and the water is deep. How can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and flocks and herds?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give him will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said, "Sir, give me this water so I don't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." "Go call your husband and come back." "I have no husband." "You are right," Jesus said, "when you say you have no husband. The fact is that you have had 5 husbands, and the man you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." "Sir, I can see that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is Jerusalem." Jesus declared, "Believe me, woman, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. A time is coming and has now come when true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in spirit and in truth. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so glad you're here too. I am so excited about this story and a couple other stories I've got for you here, if that's okay. So, did he judge her? Was he judging her? No. But did he approve of her past actions? Was there anything in there that says, oh, you're okay, you're good? He didn't say that either, did he? And what is living water? That's an interesting thought. I'm going to put that well right here, the water well, the Jacob's well right here. And I'm going to put the other well that was mentioned, the one with living water, I'm going to put it right here so we can keep our wells straight. This woman, she had a complicated life, didn't she? I mean, having 5 previous husbands is not normal in 2025, and I don't think it was very normal then either. I wonder if she felt failure. I wonder if she felt embarrassed. I wonder if she was sad. I did a little poll about 2 weeks ago, and I asked about 20 people who I thought had been previously divorced. And I asked, do you think previously divorced people feel embarrassed, shame, sad, failure? And 19 out of the 20 said yes. And some of them said, I still feel that way every day. So I think we can probably assume that she felt some of those feelings. I can kind of relate. Now, I've not had 5 husbands before, but I have had failure and made mistakes and felt shame. I remember the day, the time, the years when I lied. And I lied frequently. I lied because I was afraid of the truth. I thought that when the truth was uncomfortable, I could lie and tell a lie and the truth would go away. And it didn't go away, but I imagined it did. And so I got in this habit of lying, and I lied for a long time. Lying is a sin, isn't it? And what do we call people that lie over a long period of time? What do we call those people? They're liars. I was a liar. And I really hated it. I hated being a liar. And I tried to fix myself, and I couldn't. I determined to tell the truth in every situation, and then when it come up and the truth was going to be scary, I lied. And I just couldn't stop. And so if this woman had a relationship problem where she couldn't stop, if she had a sadness about it, if she had a feeling of failure, if she didn't like herself, I can relate to that. Maybe 1 or 2 people in this room can relate to that too. I want to know something. Can living water fix that? I know a thing or two about wells. We have at our house in Troy, Illinois, a water well. And when we built the house in 1993, we were getting the house built, and somebody said to me, Bob, you know, there's no city water here. You're going to have to dig a well. And I thought, well, yeah, I guess we have to. So I called a well digger, and he came out to the house, and he had 2 pieces of wire, and they were both bent in the shape of an L, and he had one in each hand. And he started walking around our yard like this. He walked all the way around our yard, and he was these things, and like these wires started to move, and walking all around, and finally he came to a place where they crossed, and he said, "That's where we're going to put the well." And I thought to myself, what kind of voodoo kind of am I getting myself into here? How is that going to work? But what a choice did I have? He was supposed to be an expert. And the next day, he came out with a big truck and a big auger on it, 36-inch drill bit, about this high and about this big around. And he backed the truck up to the spot where he put the flag the day before, and he put the auger on the ground and turned on the machine and went, whoom! And out come a 36-inch section about this high of dirt out of our yard. And he put it over there. And he put the drill back down. Vroom. Every time it would go down about 2.5 feet. Pulling up dirt, 2.5 feet, 2.5 feet. It kept going down. It kept getting deeper and deeper. And then when he put it down one time, the dirt came up and it was sopping wet. And he got off the truck and he came to that hole in the ground, and he brought a mirror. It was a sunny day. And he shined down in there and he said, "Okay, look, you've got water coming in at 21 feet. 21 feet, we'll go down 25 feet more, and we'll have a reservoir of 26 feet of water." And I said, "Okay." So he went down into the muddy water then and kept pulling it out and kept pulling it out. Went down that far, 46 feet. And then he started to put concrete casings. They were tongue and groove concrete pieces that lined our well, and he put them down there, all that. They put pea gravel at the top. And then the lid of our well is about 5 feet below the surface. And he put that on there, and he put a little pipe that come up to the top. And it's got a thing to hang an electric pump on the side of our well down there. It goes into our house, into a pressure tank, and that's our well. And that was in 1993. And we haven't seen down in that well since 1993. But I'll tell you, something valuable comes out of that well every day. I took a shower last night with water from that well. Have we run the dishwasher yet, Karen? We run the dishwasher every day from water from that well. Since 1993, it's been putting out a valuable. We can't see it very well. I sure don't understand it that well. But there's something valuable comes out of that well. I used to work at the oil field, and I kind of miss it, really. I love the oil field people. But Tim Gable one time took me out to a gas well in Fort Worth, Texas. It was behind a subdivision, and it was like a big parking lot, about as big as this room, maybe a little bit bigger, and it was gravel everywhere. And there was something in the middle that looked like a fire hydrant, but it had a bunch of gauges and valves on the top of it. But it was about this high. And Tim took me over there, and he said, this well is 17,000 feet deep. 17,000 feet deep, and it puts out gas every day of 19,000 or something cubic feet. It turns out to be about $5,000 worth of gas comes out of that well. And he took me over to this fire hydrant, and he said, "Okay, hold your ears. I'm going to open it up." And I stepped back a little bit, and he got his wrench on there and turned the valve, and gas started shooting out. Psh! From here to that wall, just a big cloud of gas coming out there, and turned it off again. And he said, "Okay, well, that's the pressure that's coming out of this gas well, 17,000 feet deep. And they have to put chemicals down there. That's the business he was in, trying to make it more productive. And that gas well, something that's valuable coming out of there. It's hidden. Not every gas well strikes gas, but this one did. It's a little bit risky to drill a gas well, but this one did. I think that my sin problem and maybe this woman's sin problem had some similarities. I think that the one reason I couldn't stop lying is because sin is addictive. I was addicted to lying. I don't know if she was addicted to marriages or not, but I know there are other sins that are addictive. And as much as we hate them, as much as we hate ourselves for doing what we're doing over and over and over, that's the nature of sin. I think another reason we get trapped by sin is that we get distracted from God. I think a lot of people, a lot of Christians, believe in God with a small b. And they don't really spend time with God. They don't read about God. They don't thank God. They don't ask God. They don't have conversations with God. And so instead they watch TV and do social media and fuss with the things that they are fussing with, and they work too much or they play too much, or there's something that's distracting them from God. I think that's another problem we have. But when we have no knowledge about God, that also hurts us. What is the result of living water? Let's just talk about living water for a minute. Is it the knowledge of God? Is living water the Spirit of God? He said, ask and you'll receive, right? Okay, well, this slide came up. I guess we'll talk about this. I think the result of living water is this. I think that when you ask God for living water and He gives it to you, you're going to experience these things in your life. Now, you'll notice that there are 9 simple words up there, right? But they're giant ideas. Giant ideas. Let's take this one, for instance. Peace. If you have peace, real capital peace, that comes from God, that comes from taking the living water, will you almost never be upset? Isn't peace not being upset? If you have peace, will you only rarely get angry? That's a big idea, isn't it? People will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have peace. They go places in the world just to get away from the turmoil they have here. They leave jobs, leave marriages to get away from turmoil. Don't they? And God says, if you ask, I will give you living water. What about love? Is that a giant idea? That's a giant idea. If you could put real, unconditional love in a bottle and sell it, you could get more than you can get from a jar of honey. Our good brother over here raises honey, or the bees do the work, and he just gathers it up. And how about kindness? I know a guy in the town I live in who is exceptionally kind. And when he calls up any place to order anything, sometimes the restaurant will write their name down. And he's shown me a couple of receipts that he's got from the barbecue place there in Troy, and they put his name as Kind Man. Kind Man. I thought, what a great reputation that is. How'd he get that? Did he get the living water? And this is real. By the way, these all come from Galatians 5. Galatians 5 calls these the fruits of the Spirit. These are the fruits of the Spirit. There's what you get from the living water. Can living water give you these? I think that we don't ask for living water enough. We don't have conversations with God enough. I guess that's what I'm saying. I know a man named John who was a farmer in rural Illinois, back about 60, 70 miles east of here. He was an old man, and he was like this. He had all these. And I said to him, John, like, how do you get that? And he said, I wasn't like this when I was 25. It was a long time God working on me to make me like this. Do you remember last week Brian's talked about happiness? And he said you can't get happiness by trying to be happy. He said you can only be happy if you try to get close to God. Well, I think that's the same thing Jesus is telling the woman. He's saying you can't fix your relationship problem by trying to fix your relationship problem. You can't quit lying, Bob, by trying to quit lying. You have to go to the well. You have to get the stuff out of the well. By the way, our power went out in 2005 for 3 days. Guess what happened to that electric pump at the bottom of that well? Anybody have an idea? It what? It laid down there with no electricity. It didn't pump anything up. It was the summer of 2005. There was a big tornado that went through our area, cut the power out for everybody. We bought a big tank of water, and we put it in our truck, and we pulled it in our garage. And anytime we needed water, we went out there and filled a bucket in our garage out of the tank. The worst thing about it was, I can tell you exactly how many buckets of water it takes to flush a toilet. Because we had to do everything by hand the old-fashioned way. Not having that value hurt us. How much is not having the value that's in this well? She was trying to talk about that well being valuable. And Jesus was he's telling us today, isn't he? He's telling us this is a valuable water. This is a valuable water. There's a place in 1 Timothy that says godliness has value for this life and the next. I think about it a lot because my Uncle Leonard just passed away on Tuesday. I sent my aunt, he was in Florida. He had dementia. He was 83. I talked to him a lot over the last several years. He always kept in touch with us. And he was going downhill, and I thought, this is not good. See, I watched my dad die in 2021. I watched my mom and my mother-in-law die in 2022. I'm getting used to what happens when people die. I can kind of see it coming. And I saw it coming with Leonard, and he did die. And I think about all the people that have died here in this body, and all the people in my family that have died, and I wonder, did they have living water? I don't know. I'm not sure. I got 3 takeaways for you today, and then we're being done. Verse 10. I'm going to go back to verse 10. John. Where is it? It's previous page. Okay, so do you know these 22 verses I read to you? There's a mountain. There's a mountain of truth and good in those. There's a mountain. Jesus said, if you knew the gift of God and who it is who asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you the living water. So I kind of think there's three parts here. We've got to know the gift of God. I don't know any way to figure that out except talk to God about it. I know that you can't go to church once a week and get that. It helps, but that's not enough. You can't read books about the Bible. That helps, but it's not enough. You really need to read what God said. That's how you learn about the gift. That's how you'll know about the guy who gives the gift. That's how you get close to Jesus. When you get close to Jesus, you're going to have all these things. All these things are going to come into your life more and more. You find old people like I found John. You're going to see that and just ask them. What were they like when they're 25 years old? You know what they're going to tell you? I was a habitual liar. Or something like that. Or I had 5 husbands, and then I found Jesus. You know, if you go farther in this John 4, she goes and spends a couple days with Jesus. And the town people spend a couple days with Jesus. Now, do you think that they found out who he was a little bit in those couple days? How would you like to spend a couple days with Jesus? Would that make a difference? You bet it would. All right, so here's my just do this. A, spend more time with God. Spend more time with God. If you're busy, I understand. If you like to sleep, I understand. If you're older and you get up in the middle of the night a lot, there's your time. And ask. There's another verse. I won't read it. It's Matthew 7:7. You can look at it later. Here's what Jesus said. Ask and you shall receive. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened. That's our assignment. Ask. Keep asking. There's another place that Jesus said, there's a woman who the judge in the area didn't like her, didn't like justice, but she kept nagging him about her adversary. And finally, she nagged the judge, and he gave her what she wanted. And Jesus told that story to say, nag God. Keep nagging God. That's your assignment. Keep asking. Okay, last thing, verse 14b. 14b says, whoever drinks this water will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Now, I went and visited Big Spring, Missouri in 2023. Anybody ever been there, Big Spring, Missouri? Okay. Van Buren, Missouri. It's about, it's between Branson and No Man's Land in Arkansas. It's kind of out in that area. But can we show that spring? The water gushes from Big Spring, Missouri at the rate of 286 million gallons a day. That will fill 433 Olympic swimming pools every day. Now, God put Big Spring, Missouri there so that on November 30th, 2025, I could use this as an example of what Jesus was really talking about. So if you want a visual of what it's like to receive the gift of God, and the abundance of Jesus that's coming out of the ground, coming out of a well, there it is. There you go. We got one more song, I think, right, Andy? Okay.
Let's go ahead and stand. Praise team, come up front.